Wonderful too not to be taking the Bodhisattva vows today, because the whole trip that we are on will be an exploration of all of the different facets of truth that we will need to relate to and begin to integrate to get a deep taste of what it is to be a Bodhisattva. So all of my teachings, all of our conversations, everything that now happens to us in this amazing place that is Ladakh will be different teachings that will help us get wiser, more grounded, more awake, more open. So when on the last day in the wilds of Nubra, we have a session dedicated to the vows, we will all know where we are with them, whether we want to take them, whether we can take them, whether we will take them. Isn't that wonderful? Today is going to be dedicated to practice. And I have been very blessed in my life, not just to receive tremendous transmissions from different traditions about practice, and to be able to collect together for the world some of what I consider to be, having experienced them, the most powerful practices that we need at this moment to give us the courage and the strength and the force and the power and the humility and the perseverance to do the massive work that we are all now called to do in one way or another. The massive work of being midwife warriors of the birth in the middle of the madness and chaos of the death, where in a global dark night it threatens the future of humanity. It could go very badly very soon, but in the middle of this terror, light is appearing everywhere. Light is appearing with enormous passion, enormous force, enormous clarity. And our job as lovers of the divine is to develop birth eyes, not just to see how terrible the death is. That's not hard. But what is hard is, in the middle of all of this madness, to develop the eyes that see the new beginning. The birth beginning, the light appearing, and to make of the whole of our lives a decision to embody the light, and also, oh yes, to encourage the heaven and the hell of the light in everyone we meet, and in all of these amazing adventures that are being begun right now as we speak all over the world by people who are broken-hearted, who are not in denial, but who are not in despair, and who are willing to roll up their sleeves and do the inner work and pledge themselves to the exhausting, amazing outer work that is going to be required for humanity, not only to get through, but to be born into another level of evolutionary power. It is time. It is the time. It is the time of the great death and the great birth. And how blessed we are to be in this place, in this sacred world that has preserved so many of the technologies that we will all need to be able to be born and to help others birth themselves. I have been blessed to be at the death of the two greatest teachers I have had, at the dying In Tuxe's case, I didn't see him die, but I was, as I explained yesterday, with him as he was dying. And my other great teacher, Father Bede Griffiths, who was the greatest Christian mystic and prophet of the 20th century, and who was my beloved father, and who gave me the keys to kingdom consciousness and to this whole process, and the map before it happened of what is happening now. And what I learned from being in the presence of these stupendous beings who had given their whole lives to realize at the highest level enlightened awareness and to enact it, what I learned being at their bedside, watching them practice, watching them pray and pray and pray and pray. Tukse doing Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme, constantly. Father Bede doing the Jesus prayer, constantly. What I learned is what I beg you now at this time in your life and at this time in the history of the planet to learn, and that is there will never be a time, ever be a time, there will never be a height of realization that you get to when you won't be needing to practice. There will never come a moment, however far you go, however far you are taken by the grace of the divine, however amazing your realization is, when you will not be needing to attune yourself to divine possibility through practice. And in fact, it goes further, what I want to teach you. And what I want to say after that is this. In fact, the further you go, the more you will need practice. Because the higher your realization, the greater the temptation of vanity, of superiority, of inflation, and of the fatality of believing that you have arrived. There is no arrival. There is only endless expansion. And endless expansion will be given to the one who goes on his or her knees, walking towards the light, saying the name of love by whatever name they worship love. That is the rule of this great dance we are dancing. So never, ever do either of these two things. Never give up your practice. And if you found that you've given up your practice, bow to the light, say you're sorry, and get back to it immediately. Because your practice is your life. And if you continue to attune yourself to it humbly, simply, you will find that whatever pain you come to, whatever suffering afflicts you, whatever paralysis threatens you, whatever hopelessness bashes you down in the night, whatever agony, physical or mental, comes to you, if you have that practice down because you have day after day after day after day humbly done it, then you will find what a helper you have within yourself. What a massive resource of courage and wisdom you have built in yourself through grace to be able to rely on when the entire world is being shaken by a ferocious evolutionary hurricane. Do you really seriously imagine you have a hope in hell of getting through what is here already and what is about to break upon the world in wave after wave of absolutely relentless karmic fury without a serious, daily, humble, simple practice? If you think you don't need one, you're blind, deaf, and dooming yourself to tremendous sorrow. So don't, I beg you. And the second thing I beg you never to do is to imagine that you don't need practice because you've been given such amazing openings. You know why that is an insult to the divine? Let me try and explain. If you go to visit an emperor with billions of diamonds and emeralds and rubies and pearls, and you are content with a few diamonds, a few rubies, a few emeralds, and a few pearls, and the emperor has already said, I am ready to give you everything, and all you want are those few jewels which you string in a necklace around your neck and parade yourself around your friends, exhibiting the level of your realization. If that's all you want, you'll be stuck there for your life. But if you go into the imperial palace of divine love, knowing that divine love wants to give you nothing less than everything, you will keep practicing. You will keep practicing. And you'll understand that the jewels you got yesterday are nothing to what the emperor will give you today. If you stay on your knees, loving, trusting, grateful, joyous, humble, doing the work. If Tuksi Rinpoche, who was a Buddha, could be saying Om Mani Padme Hung as if his life depended on it, knowing that it did, because it would attune him to himself, and if Father Bede could be saying the Jesus prayer, Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner, when this most amazing, most splendid of human beings was on his deathbed, can't we do the same? Can't we humble up and realize, oh my God, let's get going right now. Don't waste the holiness, the beauty, the fun, the joy, the heart openings, which I know are coming to you. You're sharing them with me. Don't waste them. Use them to do two things. To wake up finally to where we are in an extinction crisis that could be a birth if we turn up to be the midwife warriors, and wake up to the need you have, and I, God knows, have, of doing the inner work as the ultimately important part of our lives. You can rule the banking world, you can be the greatest doctor in the world, you can be the greatest writer in the world, you can have all the money of Elon Musk, you can be the President of the United States. But if you haven't learned that your prime job is to attune yourself to reality through the practice, humbly, daily, simply, all the time, the glory of the gifts that have been given you will never break upon you, and you'll never use them to really help others. And you will miss the great gift of your incarnation, and you'll miss the great gift of being incarnated in an absolutely unspeakably terrible time, which paradoxically is a time in which enlightenment is offered faster, swifter, clearer, more surely than at any other time, because it's in the worst times that you can wake up the most if you've got the nerve and if you do the work. Are you hearing me? And I know you are, but I have to check. So I want to begin by reading to you from the book that we will be using as we travel toward the Bodhisattva vows. This book was written in the 9th century by a man called Shanti Deva, and it's called The Mind of the Bodhisattva, or The Way of the Bodhisattva. And this is the Dalai Lama's favorite book, and it's the favorite book of everyone who understands the holiness and majesty and depth of this path. And it was written by a man, and there are many stories about Shanti Deva, but this is the story I love the most. He was a kind of very lowly, seemingly extremely stupid, utterly unintelligent, didn't know much about the scriptures, apparently, monk who was in this very grand monastery. And one day, and he did all the dirty jobs, he cleaned the toilets, he did the laundry. The other monks were far too realized, as you can imagine, to do anything like that. So he did it all humbly, simply, and they thought he was a simpleton, a no-good lazybones who were very blessed to be in their very, very holy presence. You've met these kind of people on both sides, haven't you? You've probably been these kinds of people on both sides. Anyhow, one day they played a trick on him, and they arranged a room, and they put a Rinpoche's chair in them, and everybody assembled, and they said, okay, it's your turn to teach. It's your turn to give us a teaching, thinking that he was going to make a total, absolute fool of themselves, and they could have a nice superior orgy of fun, right? So he said, well, I'm extremely humbled by your invitation, and I ask advance forgiveness for all my faults and stupidities, and I know nothing. But since you have asked me, and so graciously and so kindly, I will give you a teaching. And he sat on that chair, and he gave them the Bodhicharya Avatara. He gave them this. And nobody could move or say anything at the end of it. And it was collected, and it has become the guide to millions of people searching to embody divine compassion. And this is what he says about practice. And don't forget, we live in a fantastically user-friendly world in which we are pampered endlessly to keep us coddled in the kind of slaveries that the situation and the systems love. You've got that, haven't you? And don't forget that most of the teachers on the planet are more interested in their incomes than in telling their students the truth, because they know that in such a coddled narcissistic culture, if you ever do speak the truth, 90% of the people who are affording you the money to live in the nice place by the lake where you're living will go. And if you don't know that's the case in the spiritual world by now, look around. And what Shanti Deva says about practice has been said by all the serious mystics in all the traditions. You can hear this from St. Francis, you can hear this from Jesus, you can hear this from the prophet, peace be upon him, because this is the truth. And it doesn't flatter the ego. You can always tell the truth because it makes you resentful initially, before you realize, oh, it's time to face reality. So here it is. When I am beleaguered by defilements, I will stand, and I will face them in 1,000 ways. I'll not surrender to the host of the afflictions, but like a lion, I will stand among a crowd of foxes. However great may be their peril, people will by reflex guard their eyes. Listen, this is a stupendous image. However great may be their peril, people will by reflex guard their eyes because they're so incredibly sensitive, right? And likewise, I, whatever dangers come, must not fall down beneath defilement's power. Better for me to be burned to death, and better to be killed, my head cut off. At no time will I bow and scrape before that foe of mine, defiled emotion. People sweat and labor to gain riches and contentment, although success is very far from sure. But how can they be happy if they do not do those deeds that are the source of joy to them? And since they never have enough of pleasure, honey on the razor's edge. What an image! Honey on the razor's edge. How could they have enough of merit, fruits of which are happiness and peace? The elephant, tormented by the noonday sun, will dive into the waters of a lake, and likewise I must plunge into my work that I might bring it to completion. As seasoned fighters face the swords of enemies upon the battle line, I'll lightly dodge the weapons of defilement and strike my inner enemy upon the quick. And if in the fray the soldier drops his sword, in fright he swiftly takes it up again. So likewise, my friends, if the arm of mindfulness is lost, go quickly and get it back. Just as poison fills the body, borne on the current of the blood, likewise evil, when it finds its chance, will spread and permeate the mind. So, I will be like a frightened man, a brimming oil jar in his hand, and menaced by a swordsman saying, "Spill one drop and you will die." This is how practitioners should hold themselves. Just think of that image again. Just think of that image. Shanti Deva is saying out of his sublime realization to us, he is saying, on this path to becoming a supreme transmitter of love at its completest, you cannot afford inflation, and you cannot afford to give up your guard at any time. Because what you are really like is like a frightened man with a brimming oil jar in your hand, and there's a swordsman standing in front of you and saying, spill one drop and you will die. You will lose everything that you have gained if you don't realize that you will have to protect what you have gained by humility, by discernment, by diligence, by perseverance, by practice. Practice, practice, practice. This is how practitioners should hold themselves. You won't hear that in the rotten, idiotic New Age circles, which is why there are so few people on the earth who are really forged in the authentic fire of mystical awakening. And a teacher like Shanti Deva is not saying these things to beat us about the head or to frighten us. He's saying these things because he's taken the path and he's fallen and he's been wounded and he's begged for mercy and he's cried out because he knows he's failed to be diligent enough, and he has received grace to go on, and he knows what it costs to be real. That's why this kind of advice is more priceless than any coin or diamond. That's why when you have the chances you have at this moment to be at the heart of a tradition that has never pampered or flattered the full self, but has always given the clearest, most ruthless instructions to help you and to help preserve you and to give you the real skinny. In the middle of your hearts, just now go down and say thank you that this voice of truth is still sounding across a planet that has become a whore of lies. You hear me? If you think you can master French in 3 months, or even in the 40 years I've been speaking French, you are fooling yourself, because not even French people have mastered French. If you think that by taking the Bodhisattva vows you're going to become in 3 or 4 years or 3 or 4 months or 3 or 4 days a Bodhisattva, you are fooling yourselves in a way that is entirely appropriate to people who have been bamboozled by a culture of absolute depravity and idiocy. We all, including of course and mostly myself, have to really humble up and realize what it is we are hoping to become, and what it costs, and what it means. And if we don't, we're not only fooling ourselves, we're joining in the orgy of wicked, crazy foolishness that is now literally destroying the planet. So it's not just dangerous for you personally, it actually contributes to the falsity that is now burning life down. You understand, don't you? And you understand why I'm putting it so strongly to you, because I love you. I think you're wonderful people, and I think you're all capable of absolutely amazing progress. And you're all here. And if I didn't speak to you like this, Tuksey Rinpoche would come in a dream, cut my head off and feed my body to the vultures. Because I would not have deserved to be his disciple. And I'm not sure I do, but I'm sure as hell trying. Okay? I had the best advice from my African-American friend who's been a gangster and saw Jesus in jail and is now living an amazing life. And I go to him for advice for everything. And I said to him, I'm going to have these amazing people in the most powerful place on earth. And what am I going to do? How should I approach this? What should I do? And he said, you know what to do. He talks to me like that. That's why I love him. He said, you know perfectly what to do. He said, leave no stone unturned. Don't help them by not showing them reality. It won't help them. Be as clear, as strong, as loving, as fierce, as truthful as you can, and let the chips fall where they may. Because even if they resist you in the moment, you will have imprinted something that they will need. And just do it like that. So that's what I'm doing it like that. Right? And I know you know the score. So what we're going to do first is calm down after that. I have to go to my inner Bora Bora after the getting. I was very lucky to have teachers who were like that to me. Without Tukse's ferocity and Bede's very tender love but also ferocity, I would have ended up dead or swigging from a vodka bottle on Ipanema Beach, which might have been fun, and I've sometimes wished I was that person, but the life that I've had has been so immeasurably more beautiful because somebody loved me enough to bitch slap me awake. Don't go for the sweet teachers. They want to rob you. Go for the teachers who are alive in the fire. You might find it very difficult to be close to them, but once you get used to the fire, you'll have the best time of your life. That's the truth. Yesterday, we had that wonderful experience in here of chanting together so tenderly for His Holiness. Om Mani Padme Hum. And I shall never forget how blessed I felt by your chanting of it in this room, because I could feel the depths of your humility and sincerity and how deeply you'd been touched and how deeply you knew that these syllables are not just syllables. They are sacred technology helping you to connect directly to the mind of the Buddha of compassion. Isn't that amazing? And today, I just want to give you some extra information, not to clog up your minds, but to show you just how amazing these syllables are. Because as you can imagine, since they've been used for 1,200 years at least, in places like this and in Tibet, many, many, many great teachers who have been illumined by this practice have written very extraordinary commentaries about it. There are at least 1,500 commentaries on just this mantra. And when Sogyal came to transmit the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying to Patrick and myself, who co-wrote it with him, We spent 3 months reading about 30 of these treatises, which are completely mind-blowing, mind-dazzling, mind-exploding, and we selected these few essential points for everyone. So I hope you will allow me to read to you what we selected, and that you will take this in for you, since you've been initiated here into this great holy practice, which you can use whether you are a Tibetan Buddhist or a lesbian acrobat or a banana seller or a atheist or a Wigan, whatever the heaven or hell you are, because I don't think the Buddha of compassion cares much. In fact, I would say I know at this stage the Buddha of compassion doesn't care about anything except that you turn up and have the relationship. Yeah. And don't shoot me, but that's the truth. And the story that we selected to tell about Avalokiteshvara is not the one I told you yesterday. But that's my favorite story, but this is Sogyal's favorite story. There are several stories about how he came to be who he was, and obviously, writing a book for the Tibetan master, you don't push your story in. Even I didn't at that age in my life. Here is story. Countless ages ago, it is said, 1,000 princes vowed to become Buddhas. One resolved to become the Buddha. Avalokiteshvara, however, vowed not to attain enlightenment until all the other 1,000 princes had themselves become Buddhas. In his infinite compassion, he vowed to liberate all sentient beings from the sufferings of the different realms of samsara. And before the Buddhas of the 10 directions, he prayed, "May I help all beings, and if I ever tire in this great work, may my body be shattered into 1,000 places." First, it is said, he descended into the hell realms, ascending gradually through the world of hungry ghosts up to the realm of the gods. And from there he happened to look down and saw aghast that though he had saved innumerable beings from hell, countless more were pouring in. This plunged him into the profoundest grief. For a moment he almost lost faith in that noble vow he had taken, and his body exploded into 1,000 pieces. And in his desperation he called out to all the Buddhas for help, who came to his aid from all directions of the universe, as one text said, like a soft blizzard of snowflakes. With their great power, the Buddhas made him whole again. And from then on, Avalokiteshvara had 11 heads and 1,000 arms, and on each palm of the hand was an eye, signifying that union of wisdom and skillful means that is the mark of true compassion. In this form he was even more resplendent and empowered than before to help all beings, and his compassion grew even more intense as again and again he repeated this vow before the Buddhas: "May I not attain final Buddhahood before all sentient beings attain enlightenment." It is said that in his sorrow at the pain of samsara, 2 tears fell as he made this vow from his eyes. And through the blessings of the Buddhas, these 2 tears were transformed into the 2 Taras, the 2 divine feminine Buddha. One is Tara in her green form, who is the active form of compassion, and the other is Tara in her white form, who is compassion's motherly aspect. The name Tara means she who liberates, she who ferries us across the ocean of samsara. So from the tears of the eyes of the Buddha of compassion were formed the two great feminine powers of Buddha liberation, Tara, green Tara, and white Tara, in perfect equality with the masculine. It is written in the Mahayana Sutras that Avalokiteshvara gave this mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum, to the Buddha himself. And the Buddha in turn granted him the special and noble task of helping all beings in the universe toward Buddhahood. So the brothers got together, did the work. At the moment this happened, all the gods rained flowers on them. The earth shook, and the air rang with the sound, Om Mani Padme Hum Hrih, H-R-I-H, which you can use if you want. And in the words of the poem, Avalokiteshvara is like the moon, whose cool light puts out the burning fires of samsara, and in its rays the night flowering lotus of compassion opens wide its petals. Let me just say it again, because this is supremely beautiful and mystically true. Avalokiteshvara, the Buddha of compassion that you are aligning yourself with through Om Mani Padme Hum, that force field is like the moon whose cool light puts out the burning fires of samsara, of illusion. In its rays, in the blessing, empowering, healing rays of this divine compassion force field, the night flowering lotus of compassion in your heart, that secret night flowering lotus of compassion in your heart opens wide its petals. Do you like this? You like this? It's really incredibly beautiful. And one of the things I'm sure you've noticed is that this language that the Mahayana masters use is incredibly sumptuous and lavish and glorious, isn't it? And it's sumptuous and lavish and glorious quite deliberately, because it's trying to awaken with its sumptuousness, its lavishness, its glory, its over-the-topness. It starts over the top and gets more so, doesn't it? It's trying to wake all of us out of our trance of limitation, of playing small, of believing that life is only what we have already imagined it can be. You go and you get educated and you get through your boring marriage and you have your child and you survive being their parent, and then you get spina bifida and then you get the best doctor and it doesn't work and you die. And that's it. And that's about it. And if you know how to get through it, you just suck it up, buttercup, right? Right. That's basically what we've been taught. And it is complete horse manure. Because on this earth, in this body, with all of our flaws and failings, if we do the practice humbly, and if we really believe the witness of the great ones, we can have the most astounding, wild, holy, amazing life imaginable, even if we don't get to Buddhahood, and still about 1,000,000 miles away, we'll still have gone 100 million miles towards it, and it will have been a hell and a heaven of a ride, which when it comes to an end in this body, we will just be lying on our beds, coughing blood and saying, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for having given me so much more than I could ever, even in my wildest dreams on crack or pot or anything else, imagine. Right? That's how you want to die, isn't it? I hope so, otherwise I'll appear in your dreams dressed as Margaret Thatcher. And that's why the language is as it is, because the real world is this beautiful. And the real experiences are this gorgeous. And it's worth believing that, and it's worth doing anything to have even a taste of them before the fat lady sings. And can you hear her? She's doing the blues right now, right? So the teachings explain. Let's get back into listening mode, because this is very intense information, but it will be so nourishing and empowering to you. And apart from that, we spent 3 months writing these 3 pages, so I want to get it all back. That's not a Buddha-like remark, but but if you think I'm a Buddha, there's something seriously wrong with you, which I will explain later. The teachings explain that each of the 6 syllables of the mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum, has a specific and potent effect in bringing about transformation at different levels of our being. So when you say the Om Mani Padme Hum, you're not just in a kind of sweet little way getting in, I'm in contact with the mother. If you were in contact with the mother, baby, you'd be incinerated at this moment. But I'm too polite and sweet, as you probably know, to say such things. We're not just getting in contact with the Buddha field. The light that is coming to you through the saying of the field sound is a light that is perfectly calibrated and perfectly precise in the way it works on you, just as you are at this moment, in your heart, in your mind, in your stomach, in your genitals, in your toenails. It comes to you as you are, wherever you are, and does whatever is most compassionately necessarily for you at the moment that you summon and invoke it to transform you. And when you begin to be aware of the precision of the light's working, which is part of the great genius of the Tibetans. That's what they were up to in these laboratories, coming to a more and more precise knowledge of the absolutely sublime precision of the way in which light works. By purifying themselves, by attuning themselves, by humbling themselves, by doing the practice, they discovered the technology. The light gave it to them. Gave it to the right guys, don't you think? So, that's the spirit. I want you to listen to what is being said then. The 6 syllables purify completely the 6 poisonous negative emotions, which are the manifestations of ignorance, and which cause us to act negatively with our body, speech and mind, so creating samsara and our suffering in it. The 6 negative emotions, in case you're interested, the Tibetans have got a catalogue for everything, which is so fabulous. If you want to find out what you're made of, read the Tibetan texts. They've got it all down. And the 6 negative emotions are pride, jealousy, desire, ignorance, greed, and anger. Pride, jealousy, desire, ignorance, greed, and anger. Obviously, these don't apply to me, but I have noticed, looking at all of you, that, are you kidding? These completely dominate one side of our lives. Pride, jealousy, meaning envy, I think, because envy is the most horrible of all the sins. That secret, dreadful envy of another person's beauty or power or influence or... I've never experienced it. I don't want you to think that this is just from observation. Desire in the largest sense, craving, ignorance, greed, and anger. All of these are worked on and transformed through the mantra into their true nature. And the wisdom of the 6 Buddha families that become manifest in the enlightened mind. Now, it would take me 3 weeks to really explain to you how amazing that teaching is. But I'm going to try and give it to you very simply. What is so extraordinary about Tibetan Buddhism, amongst the many other things that is absolutely amazing about this system, is that it understands that all the negative emotions aren't purely dark. They all contain seeds of light. They all contain seeds of amazing possibility, which are in fact enlightened energies that are trapped in the negative emotion. So, let's take anger, something I have never been afflicted by. I just want to make it absolutely clear. Anger has been the great struggle of my life, the absolute molten fury that I feel at what is happening in the world. And I have fought it like the Theseus fought the Minotaur, because I knew that it could kill me and kill the people around me if I didn't come to some deep understanding of it. And I found that understanding in the Tibetan tradition, which says, in your anger there is a ferocious passion for clarity, which if you save it from the negative effects of your anger will be transformed into the most amazing passion force for truth. Right? So when I get in that state of fury, I say Om Mani Padme Hum. And over a couple of really grueling hours, I feel this extraordinary alchemy taking place inside me, which does not separate me from the truth that my outrage is raging at, but doesn't make me the slave of that rage, but the master servant of the truth that that rage is enraged for. Do you see? So when you realize this power of the mantra, every one of you will have your favorite of these 6 negative emotions. So take your pick. Is it jealousy? Is it anger? Is it pride? Is it ignorance? That's always a good one because that covers everything. Or is it greed? Don't be ashamed. We're all contaminated by this garbage. But go on a journey to discover the creative energy that's hidden in it. If you're greedy for power, money, girls, boys, bananas, whatever it is, What do you think is the creative energy at the core of that greed? What's that greed really about? The greed is really about trying to fill that immeasurable hole inside yourself that is your existential destiny, that is the destiny of every single human being, the God-sized hole. And the greed for power, money, boys, girls, bananas, jewels, Lamborghinis, that's an attempt which is doomed to fill that hole. But the impulse, the passion to fill that hole, that's the greatest thing you can have, because that will set you on the path and you go on with that passion, really learning, and that hole will be filled by truth, by realization. You see how amazing the system is? And how healing. So what's your favorite negative emotion? Just identify it right now. Jude and mine is anger, so we know where we're going. And yes, but we both know the truth of the radiant force that our anger can give birth to. What's yours? Is it ignorance? Is it pride? Is it jealousy? Then use the mantra. The Buddha of compassion is not going to judge you. It's not his style. It's not her style. They don't do a lot of judging, the enlightened ones. They're there to help. And they've got the help. And their help is the light that, if you invoke it, will come into you and help you experience the extraordinary alchemy of what's your shadow into your deepest and highest light. Oh, what fun. You hearing me? Yes? This is very precious information, because it takes you out of self-hatred. You don't have to hate yourself because you're crazy. You just have to know there is a solution that will make you sane, and just get with the sanity program. And the Buddha's smiling throughout all stages of this particular session of healing. So when we recite Om Mani Padme Hum, the emotions which are the cause of the 6 realms of samsara, everything is caused by those negative emotions. All the wars, all the horror, all the pain, all the suffering, all the madness of our lives, all our terrible relationships, all our self-hatred, all our self-laceration, all of those realms are purified. And this is how reciting the 6 syllables prevents rebirth in each of the 6 realms, and so also dispels the suffering inherent in each realm. And there is more, but we will have time for more, because that's enough for now. Are you getting a picture of how, in the highest and most radiant sense, scientific this system is? The Buddha was a great artist and a great scientist. And the Tibetan teachers, male and female, are great artists and great scientists. And these practices that we'll be sharing, I hope wonderfully, during our next days together, they are scientifically designed on every level to help you the most clarify everything and experience the union of what is hiding in your dark, your most hidden light, with what is hiding in your light, your most hidden potential darkness, if you let your light run away with you. Right? This is perfect alchemy you're in the presence of. And it's practical. It's sublime and practical. So, we're going to leave here in 11 minutes and 14 seconds. Because today is a Swiss watch. And he knows all about Swiss watches. And they work to the second. But what we're going to do tenderly and gently in this last wonderful 10 minutes together is to each one of us choose which of those negative emotions, or if you have another favorite one, choose that, you are most afflicted by secretly without other people knowing it. And just let it become conscious. Don't blame yourself, don't judge yourself. You're just another lunatic in the great lunatic asylum of samsara, so it's not, you're not specially evil. There is no specially evil. Right? You're just a nutcase like everyone else. Just choose that negative emotion and then just start saying Om Mani Padme Hum and imagine the light coming towards you to help you work that negative emotion into its secret opposite without judging yourself, but humbly. Because you're in the presence of the most total, amazing love, which knows perfectly well what a lunatic you are and is just longing for you to admit it so that it can help you. But you have to admit it, and you have to invoke it, and you have to work with it. And then let's see what happens, okay? So, in the presence of the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, in the presence of Shanti Deva, with infinite gratitude for his amazing work, in the presence of His Holiness, in the presence of Tukse Rinpoche, past and present, let's just say Om Mani Padme Hum and offer up our most favorite, cherished negative emotion for transformation through the syllables power. Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 Mani Padme Hum. Om 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 Mani Padme Hum. One last wonderful, strong, faithful, joyful Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. May the blessing of the Buddha of compassion, Avalokiteshvara, be with us, in us, all this beautiful holy day. And may it just grow and grow and grow through all that is going to unfold through his gracious magic.